What is going on, sexy people? Do you want to know the secret to those vegan gains? Those vegan muscles? Those vegan biceps, man? Well, the answer is very simple. You just been missing out because you didn't know my homemade simple seitan recipe that you're about to learn right now in this video. Make sure you stick to the end because I'm gonna show you 3 amazing recipes that you can make with this base recipe, but I'm gonna first show you a very, very simple way to make homemade seitan that literally anybody can do. Now, I know you probably have shied away from doing a seitan recipe before, just like me, because you thought it was gonna take forever, you thought it was gonna be super complicated, you thought there would be like 13 different steps and you'd have to like sit there and proof the dough and it was gonna, you know, you can mess it up in all sorts of different ways, but honestly, anybody could do this. This is so freaking simple. So if you don't know what seitan is, it's basically like the vegan version of meat. It's super high in protein. It's also very, very much so like a replacement for, like, I would say chicken inside of meals and recipes. But when you go to the store and you get seitan, it always comes in about the size of your fist. And that size of your fist is about $5. With this recipe, not only is it super simple and easy, amazing and dope and delicious, but it's also very cheap. You'll be able to make about 14 times the same amount for the same price. So that's really, really beneficial. And once you try this once, you're gonna be making this all the time. All right, that's enough talking. We're just gonna jump right into the video. I'm gonna start by showing you guys the very simple base recipe. And then from there, I'm gonna show you 3 different recipes. One for barbecue ribs, one for buffalo wings, and then one that you can put in just about anything, an all-purpose seitan. So let's just jump into it and let's get them gains. All right, so we're gonna jump right into the base seitan recipe itself. Now, do not be freaked out because this is incredibly easy. Like seriously, really easy. Ready? So of course you were gonna need some vital wheat gluten protein. So mine is from Bob's Red Mill. You can get it from wherever, but basically it literally just looks like flour, but it is just pure vital wheat gluten. So if you're not good with gluten, this whole recipe is probably not good for you. All right, so we are gonna need 1 cup of it. And also shout out to these vintage measuring cups. Does anybody have these? I know somebody out there has these still. But yeah, put that in the mixing bowl. You're gonna use 3/4 cup of water. Now you could use veggie broth and that's totally cool. If you do want it saltier and have more flavor, use broth. But I make this completely unsalted. That way you can add salt in the finished product with whatever you're making the seitan into. All right, next up, we're gonna do 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. 1, 2, 3. Next up, we're gonna need the liquid of the gods, tahini, and we're going to use 2 tablespoons of tahini. Nothing actually needs to be perfect, so don't stress it too much. If you do a little bit more or a little bit less, it's totally fine. And finally, we are doing roughly 1 tablespoon of some mustard. All right, and then to spice it, you can pretty much use any spices you want. I'm gonna use onion powder, garlic powder, and chili powder. I'm gonna use a teaspoon of each, which looks roughly like something like this. Again, this does not need to be an exact recipe, and as you go, you'll see exactly how easy this is. You can do it pretty much any way you want. All right, so that's basically everything that's going in here. Now we're just gonna mix it up with our fork until it gets kind of sticky, and then we're gonna knead it. But mind you, you do not need to use any of those things that I just mentioned, except for the 3/4 cup water and the 1 cup of wheat gluten. That would be enough to make this. Everything else is just there for a little bit of texture and a little bit of flavor. Okay, so as you're kneading it, basically you're just like developing the gluten inside of this dough, and you'll feel that it starts getting a lot more rubbery, a lot more, I don't know, like doughy and less sticky. So like it doesn't stick to my hand at all. There's no like pieces left on my hand, and you'll see that like it bounces back when you knead it. So the more you knead it, the better that feel is gonna get. You probably only need to knead it about a minute. Okay, and this is kind of what it's gonna look like when it is done. It's gonna have, basically every time you pull it open like this, it's gonna have like a lot of like little fibers, and it's gonna be pretty elastic. So when you pull it apart, it's gonna kind of like bounce back and be rubbery. This is done. You pretty much can't screw this up anyways. Okay, so now we are going to cook our seitan in the oven. You wanna just get like a glass tray, or really any sort of tray. And again, this does not matter at all how you do it, what size your tray is or anything like that. But basically, the gluten will dry up if you don't have some sort of liquid. So you wanna use some broth or some water, and you wanna just fill it up. So again, this is not measured, this is just a bunch. I generally like to have at least half of the seitan covered. So yeah, that can be however much that needs to be for you. All right, so this is where you get to be creative. However you want to shape your seitan is what you should do. So since we are going to do a couple of like nugget style things, I'm going to pull apart pieces kind of like this. This is kind of like a tiny little nugget. Keep in mind that as you cook them, it is going to probably about double. So this is gonna be pretty big, and you're just gonna put those in the water. So I'm gonna do about half nuggets and then one giant, kind of like a meatloaf looking thing, like one big log. And then in the future, we're just gonna be able to cut that once it comes out of the oven and it cooks.
A few moments later.
All right, so now this is ready to go in the oven. If you did want to, you can use, instead of water, you can use veggie broth. That'll add more flavor, again, more salt. It's up to you, but this is gonna go into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes or so. If you remember, come back and flip them all halfway through. If you don't remember, it's totally fine. Also, you might want to add more water if you didn't add enough and it all starts getting soaked up. It's just basically to keep it from sticking to the pan. So into the oven we go.
1 hour later.
All right, an hour later, and this is what we are looking like as we are losing daylight, so I'll try to go quickly. But basically, all the pieces have kind of come out like this. I did, just a little disclaimer, I did drop some of the water out of this because there was a little bit too much. It wasn't letting them get kind of their burnt edges because I do like them to be a little bit crispier, but that's totally up to you. You don't have to make them crispy. So now we can do the different things that we want to do with them. So these nuggets are obviously perfect size for nugget stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn these into buffalo crisps. Or like, I guess, buffalo chicken nuggets, something like that. Okay, so basically what I have is some all-purpose flour in here. It doesn't matter how much, just in a bowl. And then I have a chia seed egg wash. This is super simple. All you need to do is just use 3 parts to 1 part chia seed of water. So 3 tablespoons of water, 1 tablespoon of chia seed. And this just kind of like binds around the nuggets so that they can catch the flour a lot easier. So we're just gonna toss them in here like this, and then toss them in the flour like that. And then we have these perfect little nuggets that are ready to crisp up in the air fryer, which is exactly where this bad boy is going. So we're just gonna do that with all of them, and we will be ready to air fry for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how crunchy you like yours. And obviously, with the air fryer, you don't need to add any extra fat, which is really nice. Okay, so I'm gonna make the rest of these. Okay, so now all of our nuggets are lightly sprinkled with flour and ready to go in the air fryer. No oil needed, which is nice. You can add oil, I guess, if you want to make them even crispier and more like kind of fatty, but these are ready to go. These are gonna go into the air fryer at 400 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how crispy you want them. Okay, now with the main chunk of seitan, that is literally the whole recipe. Like all the other stuff I'm gonna show you with the buffalo wing or the buffalo chicken pieces and then the barbecue ribs, that's just extra stuff that you can do with the base recipe, but this is it. This is the base recipe. This can be turned into anything. So what I like to do usually is I'll keep it in this form, and then as I'm cooking things, like if I'm cooking a big rice bowl or something like that, I'll just go and cut it down like this, take what I need, and then I'll turn it into whatever I want. So sometimes I'll do little like cube pieces like this. So then I have these little pieces all throughout my like Buddha bowl where I have like little protein cubes, I guess. Well, like chicken pieces or whatever. Or you can keep it in like larger pieces like this. I mean, it really depends whatever you want to do. So it's cool because it's very versatile, but I just keep it in a big meatloaf form. That's all the recipe is. Everything else that I'm showing you is just extra credit. So yeah, don't let the rest of this video kind of scare you with like egg washes and, you know, air fryers and stuff. This is such a good, simple recipe. You got to try at least this part. All right, now for the barbecue ribs, you are just going to cut your seitan into rib shapes. This is a previous batch of seitan, so this is refrigerated, but the other one's too hot and I already decimated it, right? So we have these pieces right here, and I have a frying pan right here where I put like about a half tablespoon of olive oil and heated it up because I was hoping I could get the sizzle sound. Fail. No sizzle sound. You don't need to use oil, but if you want to, you can. It'll add a little extra crisp, but you totally don't need to. So I'm gonna cook this on both sides in the oil for about 2 minutes, and I'm just gonna get it a light golden crisp, and then we'll do the next part of the recipe, which is also very simple. All right, now we have a little bit of a golden crisp on them, and all we're gonna do to finish this recipe off is we're just going to top them with whatever barbecue sauce you wanna use. So I have Annie's barbecue sauce right here, sweet and spicy, and you just wanna use as much as you want to use to coat them. So you wanna coat them on both sides and then let the sauce caramelize a bit. That caramelization is what's gonna make it really good. So you wanna just toss these around, make sure they're evenly coated. And then I'd probably do a second coat after this first like kind of cook down, just to make sure that the caramelized barbecue sauce is on the ribs, and then you have kind of like another layer that's a little bit more wet to make sure that everything is, ooh, it smells good. Everything is coated nicely. All right, to caramelize these, it probably takes about, I'd say 3 minutes on medium heat in the frying pan. All right, so these are now done. You see they got that nice little char on the edges. Woo! Health freaks beware, carcinogen central, but oh my gosh, they're good. So now we are just going to plate them and then throw a little bit of sesame seeds on top so that they do look good. This is what they're gonna look like. Okay, now coming back to our little nuggets, they have finished cooking in the air fryer, and now they have a bit of a crisp on the outside. Now, don't worry about the flour that's on the outside. That's gonna go away. Again, you can cook these a little longer, or you can cook them with oil and they'll be crispier, or if this is too crispy for you, you can cook them a little less. What we're gonna do, we're just gonna put these into a mixing bowl, and the simplest part, go and find your favorite hot wing sauce. We have Frank's Red Hot here. I know also Sweet Baby Ray's has a hot wing sauce. This one is vegan, and this one doesn't have preservatives, which I think is pretty dope. Then you're just gonna douse those suckers, baby! As much as you wanna use, again, totally up to you. I don't know how much sodium your mom lets you have. I don't have any limits, baby. So we're just gonna mix them up with a spoon or with your fingers, like so. And probably, I guess, the most important part, or like the only important part, is just to make sure you get all sides completely covered. You don't want any of that flour left on the outside of the nuggets. There you go. Now these suckers are ready to plate, and we're also gonna toss these a little sesame seeds on top because that makes it look way fancier. But these suckers are so good with a little vegan ranch. I'm telling you, you gotta try these. I've had these like 3 times this week. It's ridiculous. All right. Not too bad, right? It might not look super simple, but I swear to you, it is so simple. Once you make it the first time, you're gonna make it like a bazillion more times because it is so freaking good. And it's also so easy to just throw into anything and you have protein just immediately ready for you. I make it in big batches. I keep it in the fridge and then I just pull it out, cut off a little bit of it and throw it into anything that I'm making just to add a little bit of extra protein in there. Now, I know a lot of people are probably wondering, where do you get Vital Wheat gluten? Now, you can get it on Amazon, I'm pretty sure. I got mine from Whole Foods, but I'm sure you can get it from any health food grocery store, so like Sprouts or Trader Joe's. It might take a little bit of hunting, but once you find it, you're gonna be rewarded because it's freaking amazing. Now, if you enjoyed this recipe that you just saw and you'd like to see some of the other recipes that I've made, well, I have a recipe book. It's called Eat Vegan or Die Trying. And I spent literally about a year on this recipe book. It has 39 recipes, really high protein, super simple, easy things to make, really, really good. And also a lot of you guys have supported it and bought it, and I really appreciate that. If you go on the website, you'll see all the reviews. There's tons of 5-star ones on there. So thank you guys again for leaving those reviews. And if you guys want to check that out, the link will be in the description below. And I'll also put a coupon code there that you can use to take 10% off. And I really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoy that. The final thing that I want to say is I'm pretty new to making homemade seitan, but so many of you guys asked me to share this on my Instagram, so I decided I would. But I know so many of you are way more professional seitan makers, so if you have any tips, if you have any like modifications to the recipe or any recipe you want to share, put it in the comments below. That helps everybody out, the whole community. And that brings us to the end of the video. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you give it a big old thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Team Beyond the Week, CT.
Lift heavy or die myron, motherfucker.
Team Beyond the Week.